to our first production of St. Anne's Faith Formation for our 5th and 6th graders. Today's topic is going to be faith and service, young people, and faith formation. You're seeing on the screen today Mrs. Flood, our Director of Faith Formation. How are you, Mrs. Flood?
Very good, Father Tom.
And then we have Lauren and Abby, two of our 6th graders from St. Anne's School who agreed to help us. We'll be looking for students from Faith Formation also to help us in future tapings. And then we have Mrs. Linda Leone. Mrs. Linda Leone is in charge of Parish Social Ministry here at St. Anne's, and Parish Social Ministry really encourages service for all parishioners, for our adult parishioners, our student parishioners, and everyone in between. So, and my name is Monsignor Thomas Harold, the pastor, as you know, here at St. Anne's. So welcome, lady. We're all ladies except myself. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
I'm good as well.
Beautiful, and thank you especially to our two young parishioners for coming forward today. So, Mrs. Flood.
Yes, Father Tom.
We're in the beginning of a new faith formation year.
Yes.
And again, with the pandemic, we're trying all different new things, right? Because not everyone can meet in class, so we're meeting this way. Sometimes we're meeting in the church. Hopefully, not too long, we'll be meeting in the new parish center, the St. Francis Ministry Center. Looking forward to that?
I certainly am. It's a beautiful building. I can't wait to share it with them all.
Yep. So this Sunday's gospel is the apostles are with Jesus and they're arguing. They're arguing about who's the greatest, who's the most important, who's number one. Jesus is pretty smart. He doesn't fall for it. He says, apostles, my friends, it's not about who's number one. He says, if you want to be like number one, the key is to serve others. Service. That's why this Sunday's gospel, our first taping, we want to focus on service. Mrs. Flood,
Yes.
how does service fit into the faith formation program? Do kids do any service in faith
Yes,
formation?
they do. Actually, it works in two ways, Father Tom. People volunteer into our faith formation program, or our students in our faith formation program also do service hours. So, for example, Abby's sister, Mackenzie, was a catechist, right, for years. It's in faith formation. And now we ask some of our 7th and 8th grade students, we encourage them to do services, 10 hours of service before they're confirmed.
Oh, that's linked to confirmation.
That's linked to confirmation. But I think service could really start before 7th and 8th grade.
Right.
These girls sitting here today, in a way, is doing service for faith formation, and we appreciate you coming, girls. Thank you.
Yes. Ladies, I call you ladies. Ladies, you're 6th graders. Have you had any experiences of service in St. Anne's School up to this point?
Yes, I have. I've actually went shopping with my mom a couple of times for food for the poor. It was like a program here at St. Anne's or something.
Was that food that your family brought to the loaves and fishes closet in the back of the church, or was it food for something else? Do you know?
I think it was food for something else, but it was definitely like related to St. Anne's here.
Good for you. Where did you go shopping?
We went like to the supermarket, you know, where you usually get food.
Did you get anything special for yourself? No
I
candy.
probably got a chocolate bar or something.
Chocolate bar. See, service is not meant to be something that, you dread or something that just brings inconvenience or pain. Service can bring joy, like a candy bar. Nothing wrong with combining service with something that you like. Lauren, have you had any experiences of service in your school career?
I was a counselor at Camp St. Anne's this summer.
Beautiful.
And then I also have been donating to the Loaves and Fishes.
Wow. So when you were a counselor at Camp St. Anne, how old were the children at Camp St. Anne?
I think there were 3rd graders.
Wow.
We're going into 3rd.
And what did you do in your service as a counselor?
I helped them with anything they needed, and I made sure they were all safe.
And were they happy?
Yes.
Was that a good part of your summer?
Yes, a very good part.
Beautiful. And were you serving with other kids your age?
Yes, I was serving with Abby
Oh, Abby was
and my
part of
other
that.
friends.
Beautiful. How are you doing, Mrs. Leone?
Very well, thank you.
Mrs. Leone, you are always encouraging service here at St. Anne's, and you do a lot of service, and we appreciate that, and we know that. But now you have the opportunity to talk directly to some of our 5th and 6th graders. What would be a message that you would like to deliver to them today?
Oh, well, I feel like I'm blessed to be in the role that I am here in St. Anne's Church, which means that I work for the parish, coordinating a lot of our service projects here. And there's a whole range of ministries of service, and I'm just thinking of some other ones that I think you both have participated in, but you might or might not have remembered it right now. But let me just ask you, do any of you remember families in service and doing any sandwich making on a Saturday morning? Did you think you ever did that? Did anybody ever go Christmas caroling at the homes of some of our homebound parishioners? Or make flowering plants for some of our seniors? How about, did any of you either write cards or notes to some of our seniors? And what about when you were in 3rd grade? Did you used to come to visit the seniors who would be at senior scene and come do something special for them? And there's even a project at Easter time. Who remembers what you might have done at Easter when you were younger? Anything to do with an Easter basket?
We would make Easter baskets for the people who need it, so it's a special thing for them. So everyone has something at Easter.
Exactly. So a lot of what we do in service in St. Anne's is we try to find where there are people in need. And sometimes the people in need are here in St. Anne's, and sometimes they are living in neighboring communities. But often it's people who don't have enough money to put food on the table and feed their families. It's people who are lonely and isolated because they don't have family members living nearby. It might be people who are elderly and ill, or people who are even young and facing serious illnesses. So the fact that people in St. Anne's will be helpful to them is wonderful, but the fact that children like you learn the value of what it is to serve people in need is just a really important part of what we do. And so I just want to say thank you for the projects that you have been involved in. And I know that as you continue to grow, you're going to be continuing to be involved in special projects. I think coming up for you this year, you might be helping some veterans. When we come up to Veterans Day, I think you'll be writing some letters to soldiers. And I'm also thinking you may be making Christmas stockings for soldiers, right, who are on active duty. Could be another thing you're going to be involved in the upcoming months. So,
Mrs. Leone and Mrs. Flood, Mrs. Leone made mention of something called families in service.
Yes,
So that's more than just the child,
it's the entire family.
the entire family.
And now with the new building that we have, we're going to be doing more services with all the students in our program. And especially 5th and 6th grade, we're working on some great services together that you can either do with your family or as a group, as a class together.
The families in service, if I remember correctly, it's usually early on Saturday mornings
Yes.
in the school cafeteria. That includes faith formation families and kids,
Yes.
families that go to the school here. Are we able to do that this year with the pandemic? Because it's usually in the fall. It must be coming up if we are doing it. Or maybe we already did it. I'm like $1 short and a day late.
but we can say that this is a public service announcement, that it will actually be on Saturday morning, October 23rd.
Oh, beautiful.
That we have had to pivot somewhat, as so many people have had to during the pandemic, and not be indoors making the food the way we would. We are, of course, all hoping that we're going to be moving soon forward and not be so constrained by the safety concerns. But for right now, we are going to continue what we did last year, which is our Breakfast in a Bag program. There are families in neighboring communities here who, as I said before, are struggling to put food on their tables. So what we're asking families to do here is to go shopping, much as you did with your mom, Abby. And when you're buying the things for your own family, to think about everything that a family might want for a special breakfast. maybe you might not eat this way every day, but if it could be anything from pancake mix and granola bars and cereal and muffins and juice and anything that would actually be something fun, and then fill a big, sturdy, reusable bag with it. And then we're going to do that collection in the parking lot at St. Anne's on Saturday morning, October 23rd. And then that very day, all of that food is going to go straight to a neighboring community where there are families lined up waiting to receive it. We're also going to be collecting Halloween candy because we all know Halloween is coming up.
Sounds like chocolate bars, Abby.
It could be chocolate bars. But our Nassau County runs a Department of Social Services to help families who have very difficult financial situations. And sometimes the parents come in with their children in tow, and at Halloween, the staff at the Department of Social Services loves it if they could hand out candy to the children. So that's where all of the candy that'll be collected goes. So what we always ask is that when you're doing what you do for your family, that you just think while you're doing that, you think about the blessings that we have and that we can share, and then purchase something extra for those in need. And that way you're putting your faith into action.
So the October 23rd event, all families can
Every
participate in. So one of the purposes of our coming into your home via this video system is to encourage you to talk about service and see how this fits in with your calendar, October 23rd. It would be a great community event for young families to see each other doing things together. Mrs. Flood, you have a very, very long history at St. Anne's. You were in faith formation here as a child?
Many years ago.
Many years ago.
Tom, yes, I went to
And
faith
then your
formation.
children went to the school here.
Yes,
And now you have grandchildren both in the school and in faith formation.
yes, I do.
So you are all over the place. Now, as a mom and a grandmother, why do you think service is important to encourage not only our young children, but also our families?
Well, I think we're fortunate, and I think that it's a great way of teaching them the way Jesus lived, helping others, and that's really what we're there for, is to support one another. And you get a lot out of doing service. I actually met Mrs. Leone, I don't want to go how many years, probably over 20 years ago, Linda. Mrs. Leone came to the parish when my children were in school here, and she really introduced more service to all of us. And the more I knew Mrs. Leone, the more services I did. And it's a wonderful thing. It's a terrific feeling. And all of my children were involved in all different services. And in fact, Father Tom, all 4 of their jobs are doing service for others. So wow. I just feel that is one of the most important things that you can share with your child is service to others.
That's right. You have a son preparing to be a doctor, and
yes.
you have a couple of daughters who are nurses.
Nursing, physical
and
therapy,
too,
and teaching.
So one would only wonder if Mrs. Flood's children were attracted to those professions because they learned to serve when they were young. Let's ask the young ladies here. As Mrs. Flood said, she said, Jesus served. And Jesus, Mrs. Flood, in the gospel actually referred to himself as saying, he came to serve and not to be served. Ladies, you both spoke a little earlier about how you have served in the past. Abby spoke of shopping for another family. Lauren spoke of those kids in the camp. Can I ask you just a few words, each of you, and whoever wants to speak first? When you serve others, how do you feel?
It makes me feel happy to make someone else happy.
Wow.
It also makes me happy because when I see their smile on their face, that just makes me feel really good.
Wow. You ladies have beautiful smiles yourselves. And
I do.
That's a great thing. Service brings a smile. Service brings a certain happiness. Service helps us to think of someone other than ourselves, right? And it's important. What do you think of that, Mrs. Leone? Service brings a smile. Service brings a sense of happiness.
I think that that points out something that's really important in our faith, and that's that when we love and care for one another, then we are in a relationship with a person, and we can often say that, Jesus is love, Jesus loved us, and calls us to be in relationships, not just with him, but with each other. And so all of the acts of service that you do are an opportunity to be in relationships. Not always when you get to see the person, because you might not have realized where that food was going that you were shopping for with your mom. You did get to see the children that you were working with at the summer camp, Lauren, right? And that was very rewarding. But we look at times in our service to form relationships. And I'm going to mention one other program that isn't always very open and available, but it's an example, and it's our respite care program. At St. Anne's, we knew that we have a lot of families who have children who have some special needs, and then we had a lot of people who would care about them if they had a chance to know them. So we created an opportunity for people to share in a relationship by having a Friday night program where parents would drop their children off, and then we would have volunteers that took care of the children during that session of respite. And boy, the relationships that formed there have been so wonderful. So like you said, it makes you smile. Well, everybody smiles at respite, not just the helpers, but also our special friends, and we all feel like the love of Jesus when we're there because it's such a special thing. But I can't not mention something else that Mrs. Flood does and has done on a regular basis. I know you girls know when you get a little older, you'll be participating in Share a Meal, right? Share a Meal is a very special program at St. Anne's where when we have parishioners in a tough situation, there are other parishioners in the parish, and that includes our very own Mrs. Hubbard, who actually volunteer to cook meals and bring meals to people in need. And some of the students in our school not only participate in cooking meals when Mrs. Flood is in the kitchen at St. Anne's, and she's able to coordinate everybody together, and 8th graders actually cook and then deliver the meals to people in need. Also writing letters to them. I can tell you that knowing the parishioners who are in need that receive the meals, they are so touched because, again, while you may not see them to spend a long amount of time with them, the fact that you cared enough to shop for, prepare a meal, and then deliver it, and then write a very thoughtful letter means the world to a person who's really struggling. So that's what I think about service too, that it offers us the opportunity to develop relationships, Father Tom, and not every act of service allows for that, but those where we don't get to meet the people, we can always offer up our prayers for those people. And then when we do get to meet the people, we can just cherish that as an opportunity to see God in the other person.
Yeah, sometimes service is just one-on-one, you know, but it's really important. I knew someone who served someone who was ill, kind of like your children are going to be doing. And I'll never forget, it was a man who was in a very serious illness called Parkinson's. And almost makes me emotional to remember it because we were heading out in a snowstorm. And the man, because of his illness, really couldn't really stand on his own, and he couldn't walk. And it was a snowstorm. And the man that was serving him threw off his shoes and his socks and walked barefoot in the snow to lift this 200-pound man into a car without anyone asking. Just did it silently. So there's that kind of one-on-one service, and then which has an impact on me. This happened years ago, and I still remember it. And then there's the service when you join, like for the sandwich making, other people. Mrs. Leone, your big season is coming. The holiday season is busy time, but it's also a big time for service. Girls, do you know that we do like a Thanksgiving service program here, and then also Christmas? Now you're young yet. Do you remember those at all? And you do. Wow. See, it makes an impact. The service that we do for others. You know, we're sitting here for our first taping, and we're sitting at the altar. which is interesting. You know, we could be in a classroom, we could be in the faith formation office, we could be in a lot of different places, but we chose to be here in the church at the altar, where the Word of God, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but we're sitting right in front of the pulpit, and behind us, you probably can see, behind us is the altar. You see, the Word of God, Jesus, the sacrament, service, it's all one. It's all part of the gospel. And we're hoping that our 5th and 6th grade parents are watching this with their children and really feeling the importance of having conversation and coming together to help serve others. Really important. Mrs. Flood,
Yes.
Mrs. Leone, Abby, Lauren, we're going to be ending soon. Do you have anything you want to share with the people that are watching? Anything at all that you would like to share?
I think something you should always remember is to always take care of yourself, but also take care of someone else too, because it's really important that you have self-respect, but respect for others too.
Wow. Abby's
Good, Abby.
very good, Abby.
Very good.
You're really on the mark. Lauren, anything you want to add at all?
That service doesn't always have to be a big thing. It could just be writing a letter to your elderly neighbor and making them feel good.
Yep.
I think, Lauren, you hit on something very important. One of the things we've been talking about here is the number of service projects and activities that we organize here at St. Anne's. But you might say, oh, I don't have the opportunity to do that, and I'm not necessarily connected, or I don't know how to get involved. Well, 2 things I would say. First of all, you can always read the bulletin and be on the parish email list is one thing. But even more important is what you just said, Lauren, is that serving others doesn't always have to be in a formal project one way or the other. It can be as simple as looking around you on any given day and seeing who is there that has some kind of a need. Is it one of my classmates who's looking really sad? Is it my grandmother who is a bit lonely and needs a phone call? Is it a neighbor that needs me to bring in her newspaper or the recycling bucket? Anything like that are the little things that we can all do in our day. And if we do those little things with love, I think that's what God calls us to do.
Mrs. Flood, we'll be concluding shortly. Anything you'd like to add?
Yes, next week we're going to be meeting in person with the 5th and 6th grade. And that's a great opportunity. I'm always here in the church when you come in. If you're interested in doing any service initiatives, I can help them to go with any direction they're interested. And that was a wonderful point that you all made, that, you know, sometimes service can start at home if you have a family member that's struggling, just to help them. And I think we're going to do wonderful things with all of you this year.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Flood. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Mrs. Leone. You know what I'm especially proud about right now? I got all the names straight because I'm not very good at that. So, but you really made a very, very nice presentation. We're going to share this with a lot of people. So thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Moms and
girls.
dads, 5th and 6th graders, hope you enjoyed our presentation. We'll see you at others as the year progresses. Thank you.
Have a good
If you're
week.
watching this in the morning, have a good day. If you're watching it in the evening, have a good night. And we hope to see you in church on Sunday. Thank you. Beautiful. Well, that went reasonably